Fireflies by Steem. Chapter 1. Deep breath. Deeper. She could hear the rhythm of her pulse start to beat an increasingly regular pattern deep within her ear. She imagined a tiny sprite inside her head, beating on a drum. She smirked and rolled over onto her back. Slowly opening her eyes, she became accustomed to the fireflies dancing in her line of vision. It didn't matter how much she would rub her eyes. They would fade in their own time. It was always like that after a trip, after her daydreams. Daydreams? They were just the run-of-the-mill, normal, spaced-out fantasies that everyone's had at one time or another. But daydreams, they seemed to be exclusive to Talia. They were slightly more complex. She swung her legs quickly to the side of the bed, held her breath until her brain began to beg for oxygen, and finally forced the pent-up oxygen-deprived air from its prison. She didn't know why she did that. Maybe just to remind her that this was the real. This was the place beyond her unique control. Her mom knew what she could do. The first time Talia spoke about her daydreaming, her mother didn't even question the validity of the impossible journey. Her mother was a believer. Her father, not. He was too straight-laced, too black and white. The rules of nature were clear and precise to him. Talia never even bothered to try to convince him. What was the point? She knew what happened. That's all that mattered. Plus, how does one prove something when the doubter doesn't really want to believe? Arya tried, and tried often, until she stopped trying. Talia looked around the room. The comfort of the Saturday morning sun filtered through the sheer curtains on her bedroom windows. She could hear the sounds of her mother making breakfast downstairs. Her mother was exactly her opposite. Tall, glamorous, in every way ethereal. Her laughter sounded like bells, her voice like a soothing brook. When she looked at you with her beautiful eyes, you felt like you were the only one that mattered in the world. And she could do that to everyone. To describe her, she was emotion, she was passion, she was light and life. If Arya was a floating white feather, Talia was polished metal. Not bad, just opposite. If there was anyone that should have been able to journey with their mind, it should have been Arya. And yet, it was Talia. The creak of the steps as she descended the stairs announced her arrival to her mother. Her mother turned away from the frying eggs to greet Talia with a smile that radiated the light of the sun. Talia couldn't help but return the smile, even though she knew her smile would never capture the love in her heart in the same way her mother's did. Talia blinked her eyes quickly in a failed attempt to rid herself of the last few fireflies in her vision, and gave away immediately that she had just returned. Earning morning travels, I see. Where this time? Arya questioned, never tiring of hearing about her daughter's mysterious treks. Nowhere special, really. Every place is special. I want to hear all about it. Her mother plated the last of the breakfast and moved to the table to dine with her daughter. Talia laughed a short, bitter laugh, unintentionally. Okay, ask away. I just don't know how you do it. I mean, how are you not exhausted when you get back? It all feels real, right? Sometimes I'm more exhausted than other times. Yes, it's real. It doesn't just feel real, it is real. But then when I get back, this is just realer. Arya picked up a piece of toast and crunched it between two rows of perfect white teeth while staring out the window for a few minutes. She shook her head, golden curls moving gracefully and perfectly, and continued, I just don't think I would ever come back here at all. I think I would waste away in the real world while living the high life in your dreams. Talia laughed again, but this time less bitter. Everybody would think that they'd stay there, but they really wouldn't. It's hard to explain. Some things are real, but some things aren't. Some things I'm visiting, some things I'm creating. I don't always immediately know which is which, but with the created things, there's just an aftertaste. I get it, Arya responded thoughtfully. Do you? Talia's mother looked up with mischief. Not at all. Their laughter broke through the frustrated mood and brought lightness back to the conversation. Talia tried to explain further. It's just, how often can you eat pizza before you get sick of it? Arya smiled and bantered, well, you can eat anything you want there, so switch it up. No, you're missing the point. It's everything. It's not just food. It's being there. It's having control of anything and everything, and it's all scripted. I'm writing the story. There's not really much to surprise me. When you're here, you wait in line for the roller coaster. You have that 90-minute wait for the 3-minute thrill ride. You don't want the wait, but the wait makes the ride that much better. The wait is part of life. But what if you didn't have to wait? What if you could restart it immediately? How many times could you ride the roller coaster before the 3-minute thrill ride isn't so exciting anymore? How many times can you do whatever you want to do before you ask yourself, what's the point? Arya nodded thoughtfully, carefully chewing. So then, if here is more real, and there isn't an aftertaste, and you'd rather not have the control, why go back at all? And just like that, the lightness was sucked out of the conversation into an immediate vortex of pain, dark and numb. Talia's gaze grew laser sharp, staring only at her plate, refusing to meet her mother's eyes that were bound to fill with tears as quickly as her own. She spoke softly, barely above a whisper. Because he's there.